101, number one. Tired of the ordinary at lunchtime? Why not try something smart to chew on? The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom, informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI, food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International for Tuesday, the 9th of December, 2025. We are on to program number 4099 of the Lunchroom, and I'm your host, Calix George Jr. In addition to 101.1 FM on radio, you can also get us at our website, rcistlucia.com. We are streaming live on Facebook. You just have to search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And please be sure to like and share that as well with your friends and family. Now, a little history for today. Well, we go back to the year 536 AD. The Byzantine general Belisarius entered Rome, while the Ostrogothic garrison peacefully left the city, returning the old capital to its empire. In the year 1212, Frederick II, later Holy Roman Emperor, was crowned King of Germany in the city of Mainz. 1968, on this day, Douglas Engelbart demonstrated in the mother of all demos, the computer system, NLS online system, to a live audience in San Francisco, showcasing for the first time the mouse, the word processing Windows, the mouse, word processing, Windows, hypertext links, video conferencing, real-time collaboration, and other modern computing concepts. In the year 1990, on this day, Solidarity leader Lech Walesa won Poland's first direct presidential election. In 1992, on this day, U.S. Marines and allied nations launched an amphibious and airborne operation in Mogadishu, Somalia, to restore order to the war-torn nation, and that was authorized by UN Security Council Resolution 794. We now move on to our dish of the day.
Every bed in our hospitals tells a story of someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's friend. And when that story of care is complete, it's time for the next chapter, home. But too often, discharged patients are left waiting hours, days, weeks, sometimes months, not because they want to stay, but because no one comes. We understand life gets busy, but every extra day they wait means another patient, perhaps in pain, perhaps in crisis, can't get the bed they desperately need. So when the call comes that your loved one is ready, please be ready too. Pick them up, bring them back to the comfort of family, where healing truly continues. Because caring doesn't end at discharge, it continues with you. A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Now, of course, we did take in the news regarding the resignation of Mr. Alan Chasney, which came forward last week, Friday, based on what was a press release of the United Workers' Party confirming that such a resignation was provided to the party. And then yesterday, today really, but in a press release dated yesterday, coming out of a meeting of the United Workers' Party's National Council, it appears that they have not accepted the resignation of Mr. Alan Chasney. And in fact, it read It reads as follows. The United Workers' Party convened a meeting of the National Council, its highest decision-making body, on Monday, December the 8th, 2025, to discuss recent political developments, including the resignation submitted by the party leader, Alan Chasney. After thorough deliberation, the body reached a clear and unanimous decision not to accept the resignation at this time. Alan Chasney will therefore continue to serve as party leader until the upcoming convention. The United Workers' Party remains committed to serving the public interest, strengthening our organization, and working constructively towards our shared goals. We thank our members, supporters, and the public for their continued trust. And that came out of the Public Relations Office and signed by approved by Mr. Leonard Spider Montoot. So, of course, interesting a bit of a development that Mr. Chasney is in fact going to be holding on for some time longer. What is not clear is precisely how long that is actually going to be, and no indication as yet as to the likely date for this, the next convention of the United Workers' Party. Of course, we have been seeing a number of the former candidates of the UWP. Some of them have been putting forward their statements of thanks, indicating that they, in some instances, wanted to remain grounded and connected with the respective constituencies they put themselves up for. I did, in fact, I think yesterday, hear a video clip coming out of Hot 7 News interviewing that of former UWP candidate for the Castries North constituency, that is Mr. Stephen Favre, and he had formerly been under the employ of the WTO, the World Trade Organization, over in Geneva, in Switzerland, and decided to leave that job to contest this election, this general election. Of course, he was not successful, and there were about three such individuals who were in fact leaving substantive posts outside of St. Lucia, coming in to try to win a seat, and none of them were successful. The big question is, of course, will they in fact stick around? Will they have the level of commitment to necessarily stay within this period of opposition and to be engaged in the process of rebuilding? It will be very interesting to see how that is done, given the fact that, of course, the United Workers' Party effectively has chosen at this time not to have an interim leader. And perhaps one would have thought, I guess, either way, they've decided to keep Mr. Chasney as the interim leader, I guess you could say, of the United Workers' Party. As to whether that's a good idea, well, they seem to think so. And it would be interesting to see how that works out in terms of the image of the party moving on from their second consecutive landslide defeat in the polls. So, of course, it will be also interesting to see who are those who may be looking to put themselves up for the leadership of the United Workers' Party. Of course, at this time, no doubt there would be a lot of individuals who may think that it may be attractive, and there may be a lot who perhaps don't think it's an attractive time to join a party. Quite often people are attracted to join political movements when they are at their zenith, when they are in fact on the rise, when they may be holding political office. At those moments, parties tend to attract a lot of support and bring in a lot of fresh blood. It will be interesting to see how it pans out in the case of the United Workers' Party, given the fact that, of course, they have just faced a second consecutive defeat, and it's going to be pretty difficult moving forward in terms of even future general elections to come, in terms of unseating a party that is now seemingly very much enshrined in the position of governance right now. So again, we'll have to see how that works out, but I'm not sure necessarily that such a move is within the best interest of the image of the United Workers' Party, trying to move forward and show that there is in fact greater depth in their entity, in their institution at such a moment. So we'll have to, of course, perhaps leave it at that. And of course, that has been our dish of the day.
This has been The Daily Dish.
Every bed in our hospitals tells a story of someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's friend. And when that story of care is complete, it's time for the next chapter, home. But too often, discharged patients are left waiting hours, days, weeks, sometimes months, not because they want to stay, but because no one comes. We understand life gets busy, but every extra day they wait means another patient, perhaps in pain, perhaps in crisis, can't get the bed they desperately need. So when the call comes that your loved one is ready, please be ready too. Pick them up, bring them back to the comfort of family, where healing truly continues. Because caring doesn't end at discharge, it continues with you. A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046, 452-3046. And you can also reach us on our WhatsApp, 724-0008. Now, of course, as I mentioned, the resignation of Mr. Alan Chasney from the political leadership of the United Workers' Party being rejected by that party for the time being, he will remain as the political leader of the United Workers' Party. Either way, he would still have been the leader of the opposition. All things being considered, he would have certainly been holding on to that particular office. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom. What's on your plate today? Hi, caller. How are you doing? Current or past you talking about? I think, is it Paul Bia? It might be. I think he's been around for a little while. So it might be. I know that the president of the Equatorial Guinea is also pretty old. I don't remember his name offhand. But maybe you're talking about Paul B. I think is over 90, and he has not. Of course, we've seen that in other countries. Quite famously, Robert Mugabe, for example, it was quite difficult to. Yeah. All right. You think that the money factor, the financing of the party is going to. Mm, mm. But I think that's very dangerous, though. When you think about it, that a party, and I'm not saying that this is obviously something that is unique to St. Lucia, because we have seen these similar types of situations in other countries, even like in European countries. Remember Silvio Berlusconi coming in as a billionaire, and this idea that, so the idea that you can sort of buy your own party, buy your way in and get your own party by through money, is yeah. Mm. Yeah, not for some, call. I get the impression that yes. Mm. Wow. Hmm. To prevent St. Lucians from getting health care in the United States, I think it was. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm. I mean, I've never heard Mr. Ken Rejock call any program. In the, I mean, I know he has this blog, his online platform which he uses to post, his usual stuff. But it was interesting that he went that route, and then subsequent. Sorry, go ahead. Yes, I see. I'm sure. I mean, whether he called or not, I'm sure the call was arranged. Whoever called who, I don't know, but there was a. I mean, he was the person who came out first and foremost. First call of the day. It was, in fact, it was a special call. It was a special interview, and who was cut off? Oh, Christopher Hunt tried to call into that program. Wow. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, and he's also a gentleman who's been sued many times already for fake news, for spreading fake news, for coming up with any and every form of story. I mean, we've seen some rather outrageous claims, and he does that not just here in St. Lucia, in all across the Caribbean. It would appear that he's been very well known for making allegations and suggesting that he somehow has great links with the U.S. financial intelligence, and it's yeah. So, well, it's very hard, caller. You see, it's very hard for certain people who probably have. This is what they've been doing for the past 4 years. They've they've been very actively engaged in the rumor mongering, the spreading of propaganda, sometimes creating these narratives. The one that always got me was when they photoshopped a picture of the prime minister in some sort of a house in Cap Estate and said that he bought a house. This is his prime minister's house in Cap Estate. And this is things that we've seen before and we heard before. I remember we had heard these stories about Kenny Anthony had a mansion in Cap Estate, and Kenny Anthony owned malls in Trinidad and Tobago. And these things have just come on to a greater level of steroids thanks to social media. Before they would have been perhaps whispered and uttered in bars and those types of spaces. But now with the advent of social media and these pages like United Pack, they seem to have nothing better than to decide that this is, and so it's difficult for them to stop, Cole. That's the point I was trying to make. They've been doing it for so long. What are they going to do now? They're just going to. Yes, that was mentioned. Yes. Mm. Well, I mean, I don't want to comment on that aspect too much necessarily, but certainly the whole narrative that is being pushed about election fraud and trying to discredit the general election is very, very unfortunate because it's petty. One, it is really grasping at straws. It's illogical. There's no logic towards what is being said. But what not? But there were observers. But there's been an electoral system that has been in place that has not changed. That the system that has been in place regarding how votes are cast, how ballots are cast, how they are counted, all of those things have not changed. Right? These things are still going on the same way. We're not voting via any kind of online platform. The votes are counted, they're tabulated, they're in the presence of agents. And furthermore, if there was, in fact, at that level, right, at the level of the polling station, the votes were counted in the presence of these individuals. If there was any objection, at that point, should there not be something that was lodged by the United Workers' Party or whoever else believed that there was some issue there? No, it was not. It was never. It still has not been done. It's so. It really is, perhaps really playing on the minds of people. This idea, they were doing something in the back. They were creating some. I don't know if some they were creating votes online. I don't know how they're thinking people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who was present? Yes, of course. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. 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 Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. And yeah, but you know, caller, there are people who believe that they can sufficiently manipulate people's minds and thinking to believe these things, right? And this is exactly, and this is right. And we saw it in the United States. You know, this is the world's wealthiest country, greatest amount of resources, the country that developed all the technology that we're utilizing right now. And in that country, they were able sufficiently to get individuals to go and riot and storm their own parliament, the Congress, you know, so we know that yes, there's a certain playbook that is used by some individuals to create anarchy, right? It is in their interest to have a system of chaos and confusion, and that is exactly what they are trying to put. No, it should not. And I mean, when you think about it in some ways, I mean, it's almost like an insurrection. You know, you're trying to entice people to, to believe that there's something drastically wrong. And yeah, yep, yep, yeah. And in fact, the point was also being made that whether this was, given the statements regarding gangs, right? And the statements regarding, trying to say that gangs were good and, and all of that. If you're saying this and you're trying to entice certain individuals who may not be so very politically savvy, they may not be persons who vote, and you're now telling them, look at this, the election was stolen, right? You could really be now trying to encourage or entice individuals to take certain types of action. I wouldn't say violence, but go out and perhaps be disruptive or. So it's really not it's not somewhere that we need to go, especially at a time like this in this country. And as you said, there were election observers, from the OAS, from the CARICOM. CARICOM put out their report, their preliminary report, which and so well, I don't know what purpose the well, let's hope that's. Mm, mm-hmm. Well, let us hope that we don't. Let us hope that we never get to the point where politicians are pandering to criminals to try to use them to gain support and gain votes, because that is highly dangerous. The society is built on the idea that there's supposed to be law and order, right? And these rules have to be upheld, and individuals who are breaking those rules cannot be brought front and center into the democratic process. You like that, you know? So, exactly. Mhm. Well, all right. Indeed, caller, indeed. Well, thanks very much for that contribution. A very long one, but indeed, much appreciated. And in fact, we are due to take in our weather report at this time, so let's do so.
Last year, boy, problems to get shipment of tires in time for Christmas. This year, Island Style has enough tires in stock to cover the whole of St. Lucia. And with our Christmas sale starting now, every tile is on sale. Island Style has massive stock, the widest variety, and the very best sale prices on quality tires and natural stone in St. Lucia. Great deals on beautiful bathroom faucets, vanities and fixtures, tiling tools and accessories. Don't fall for no gimmicks anywhere else. Island Style's annual Christmas sale is unbeatable. Tires for miles. Deals as far as the eye can see. Start your car, ride your bike, hop on a bus, and hurry down to Island Style Town and Bath now. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewford. Check Facebook for more details.
It's now time for our weather report brought to you by Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And the forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours, winds will be blowing from between the east and the east-southeast near 23 miles per hour or 37 kilometers per hour. Weather, fair to partly cloudy and breezy with a few showers. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles, fair to partly cloudy and breezy with a few showers. And your weather summary. The tropical high pressure system, the Atlantic high pressure system will cause moderate to breeze easterly winds and locally rough seas across the region during the next few days. Patches of low-level clouds drifting along the wind flow will produce a few scattered showers over the area during the next 24 hours. And that is your weather report brought to you by Island Style.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Last year, boy, problems to get shipment of tires in time for Christmas. This year, Island Style has enough tires in stock to cover the whole of St. Lucia. And with our Christmas sale starting now, every tile is on sale. Island Style has massive stock, the widest variety, and the very best sale prices on quality tires and natural stone in St. Lucia. Great deals on beautiful bathroom faucets, vanities and fixtures, tiling tools and accessories. Don't fall for no gimmicks anywhere else. Island Style's annual Christmas sale is unbeatable. Tires for miles. Deals as far as the eye can see. Start your car, ride your bike, hop on a bus, and hurry down to Island Style Town and Bath now. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewford. Check Facebook for more details.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. Now, this week we should be expecting the announcement of the cabinet appointments. Of course, this is very much expected that the Prime Minister will indicate what his government will look like. And under the Constitution, really, there's only two stated positions required to run a government: the Prime Minister and the Attorney General. and the Attorney General need not even be a minister of government either. In fact, the current Attorney General is not a minister of government, although he sits ex officio within the Parliament. But yes, so we certainly would be looking to see what that looks like. The challenges of forming a cabinet within our time, our era, certainly, especially when there are large majorities. For example, in this instance, with 16 persons elected aligned to the government and supporting the government, it certainly seems as if we may very well be looking at a pretty large cabinet. Of course, there have been calls in the past to perhaps limit the size of the cabinet of St. Lucia. There have been calls as well to, in terms of constitutional reform, to allow for the Prime Minister a greater and freer hand in selecting perhaps even persons who are most professionally or competently suited for particular ministries or to be ministers, to be able to serve and to perhaps bring them in through the Senate. That, of course, is always balanced by the political realities as well, no doubt, of dealing with a party and, of course, your party supporters, your MPs, who were part of that team. So, of course, the matter of the Deputy Speaker has also been a major one over the years. We saw back in 2016 a Deputy Speaker appointed for only a matter of a day or so, and then shortly afterwards, the Deputy Speaker, who was then, I believe, Mrs. Sarah Flood Bobra, was subsequently named as the island's Minister of External Affairs, which she served for the entire term. And so for the entire period, there was, in fact, no Deputy Speaker, effectively, in my opinion, leading to the fact that the Parliament was not properly constituted. There was an attempt to rectify this matter by changing amending the Constitution under the first Philip Pierre administration. However, I believe there may have been a challenge as to whether, in fact, that particular provision was enshrined so much entrenched within the Constitution that it may very well require not merely an absolute majority, which was available, but in fact a referendum to be able to change it. And so, of course, we would expect that there would have to be the appointment of a Deputy Speaker as well. When will we get to the point where we may actually see a cabinet that is perhaps maybe not as extensive? And of course, the challenge that we have is that we're dealing with a small parliament to begin with. In most of the islands, you're speaking of elected members, certainly not exceeding 30 or so individuals. The largest parliaments that we have in the region, in the CARICOM, you would probably find them in Jamaica. I believe there's about, 61 or so. But even in Trinidad, you really are speaking about relatively much smaller numbers, certainly under 40. So here in our case, 17 member parliament, and out of that 17, one has to then select those cabinet ministers, and there has always been that debate: how many really and truly? What should be the ideal? What could be seen to be the ideal in terms of the number of ministries that exist? In our instance, we do not have fixed ministries, so to speak, although under legislation, you will see references to particular ministers, or for example, the minister of responsibility for water, or the minister of responsibility for finance, which is a pretty common one, or the minister responsible for works. So there are those, which some of which are enshrined in legislation, but in terms of the actual structures of and alignments of these ministries, we have seen quite a great variety in this regard. And so it would be nice to hope that we can get to the point one day where, in fact, we have some certainty in terms of the ministerial alignments, even though you may, in fact, have, and this is what happens in many other places, you sometimes may have maybe even more than one minister in a particular ministry. You may have a junior minister, although that is not something within our constitution specifically. You may have a situation where ministers may have portfolio responsibilities across a number of different departments, which may be fixed. So, for example, if you may be a minister responsibility for, say, disabilities, although disabilities may fall into an existing ministry, which might quite likely deal with maybe social equity and inclusion and that type of portfolio, you would still have that minister having some level of oversight over the particular entity within that ministry. Those types of allowances do exist certainly in a lot of other places in terms of how they in fact manage portfolios. And so these are very distinct. You may be a minister for gender affairs, for example, by virtue of maybe the prime minister wanting a female to head that particular agency, but your substantive ministry may not necessarily be related to that. So we certainly have to look to see how that is going to come forward, and to see how what kind of alignments work out this time around. One of the alignments, which is a little bit interesting from a rollover from the period of Mr. Alan Shastney, was when the Minister of Sustainable Development was also the Minister for Education. Perhaps, certainly, it would be time to have a more dedicated environment agency, environment ministry, separate and apart from education. Those types of alignments don't necessarily fit in terms of the level of focus, certainly, that needs to be placed on matters relating to the environment right about now, in terms of conservation, in terms of climate change. So there are quite a lot of areas there. And so no doubt that is one of the things I think some people may be looking for. You've also, of course, heard pleas from some quarters for a more dedicated Ministry of Culture and Heritage. And that plea, I know, is partly because of people believing that sometimes culture is getting lost under the umbrella of tourism. Let's take in a call at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. How are you doing, caller? Wonderful. Yes, they were trying to create 3 seats. Well, I think the country has no choice but to move in that direction, because currently it is very clear that the state we're in right now is not in keeping with the Constitution. The Constitution asks for seats to be, as close as possible to be equal, and this situation of Grosley is far outside of that realm at this point. So I think it is certainly very much necessary. The current member of parliament for Grosley has been championing it. because I'm no doubt he himself appreciates the challenge has befallen him in terms of trying to represent a constituency of that nature. And remember, it's again because of how sometimes the resources are apportioned to various constituencies. Really, Grosley has a good argument to say that they're not getting their fair share by virtue of the number of people who are resident in that constituency. So I think that it's long overdue, and I would like to believe that it's something that is going to be given some early attention, but of course it has to be through the Boundaries Commission, which has to be formed to consider that. And of course, I think in the case of the Boundaries Commission, the Speaker of the House is the chair of that commission, and there are 2 representatives from each of the major political parties, from government and opposition. Yes, it went to Parliament. Yes. Mm-hmm. It was approved. It was approved by the Parliament. And it's unfortunate that he went that route. And I think it's a matter that then dragged on very long. And so yes, I think it's overdue now that it has to be resolved. In fact, I think the Constitution requires for the Boundaries Commission to consider the changes, looking at it every 3 to 7 years, not no more than 7 years, right? And so certainly 7 years has already elapsed, because that was, I think, sometime back in 2015 when it came to Parliament. And in fact, that changed because of So in fact, the last time we actually had any changes at all, I think as far back as 2001, I think that's when there was that change, which created Babonneau, and then had Castries Northeast. Remember, used to be Castries Northeast, and so the Babonneau was created, and there were changes made to Castries North. So that was the last change that was made, and it's a while. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Grosley is now more than 2.5 times the average constituency, right? The average size. So it certainly is way, way over at this point. And there was a time when the constituencies were divided. When they were originally done in 1974, Grosley was somewhat of a rural community, Uh, yeah, yes, yes, yes. So that changed. In fact, the back in 1974, there were about 40,000 people on the voters list, 40,000, and Grosley had less than 2,500 people. Right? Today, Grosley has more than 25,000 people on the voters list. So it's 10 times what it was in 1974. And it's growing, yes, exactly. And so we can see clearly the trajectory is going to continue to be for shifting of the population towards the north. And so I think it's very much necessary. Good afternoon, caller. And of course, it certainly is something that the government should certainly take up very early in its term, because you wait too long to do these things later on in the term, and then you will then end up hearing about people saying that it may be because of politics and accusations of gerrymandering and all sorts of things. So it really is something that needs to be done very, very early, especially given the fact that it is already long overdue. Well, that's our program for today here at the Lunchroom, and we do hope that you can join us for another one tomorrow, Wednesday. We should be having our Republic Corner. I hope you can join us for that at about 1 o'clock. Take care.